All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 by my count, and it sure looks like we have quorum. If we could have a roll call, please. And there's Shayna, perfect.
Present. Here.
All right, a quorum being present, can I have a motion on the agenda, please? Moved by Mr. Rector.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rosales. Any questions or adjustments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Let's move forward. Can I have a motion on the minutes from June 6th?
So moved.
Mr. Rosales. Seconded by Mr. Anderson. Any comments or changes? Thank you for including them. With none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that will be approved as well. We will open to public participation. Everybody here belongs here, so we'll go ahead and close that and move ahead to communications. Any communications from members or members of the board? Seeing none of that, we will roll right on again to our FYI section, or for information only section, is empty this month. So we will just then move ahead on to number 8, items for committee approval. And so can I have a motion on ITB 17006? Mr. Harper and Mr. Anderson, open for discussion. Dana, do you have anything?
This project is part of our ADA. In fact, it's the last component of our ADA. We will be repairing basically parking spaces where slope and cross slope did not meet DOJ code. We'll be replacing and repairing concrete entrances to the building from the 2 parking lots at the satellite jail, as well as making other repairs to the parking lot. Cracks smaller than an inch will be filled, larger than an inch we'll try and cut either side and replace with about 2 feet of asphalt to try and improve the parking lot. And a final will be put a top coat reseal on it and then restripe. This parking lot's not been touched since it was built back in, I believe, '96. We're trying to make it last for 3 or 4 more years at least, but it's really needing a much larger project. But this will give it a little bit more life and make sure that we comply with ADA code for our visitors and anybody who would work there. So,
Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Harper.
Excuse me, Josh, I didn't, thank you. This isn't re-asphalting, this is patching and getting up to code.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, what really needs to happen in that project down the road is that you need to mill off at least the top 2 inches, put in curbing. There's no curbing around it except up by the building, and then re-pour and affix new asphalt to it. But this will be a project that'll help it move along a little bit further than where it's at right now. If we don't do anything, this lot is already falling apart and turning into, crushed rock, basically.
Gravel. Any other questions for Dana on that? We have, I think, talked about this a couple of times in meetings, so I think most everybody's aware of it. With no more discussion, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion will pass unanimously. Do we need to vote on this project schedule, the second part?
No, it was really information.
Information for it?
You can see from the schedule that was attached that we're trying to get this done as quickly as we can. You don't want to do any asphalt projects during the summer, but we want to get it done in September. So we'll be out for bid for 30 days. Hope to advertise and post tomorrow. It'll come back to this group in August and to the county board, and then we'll have the month basically of September to perform the work before October. Late in October, early November is usually when the asphalt concrete shops close down business. So we're just trying to get it done for the fall.
Very good. Okay, well then let's, nothing else, we'll go on to what is 9 here, items for the county board, which we don't have any. So then we'll zoom ahead to the always fun part of the night with the facilities director's report. Dana, please.
Okay. First up, just a final update on the MetCAD emergency panel, electric panel replacement, if you remember. Back when we did have rain here in Champaign-Urbana several months ago, we found we had a significant leak in the basement of the MetCAD building located at 1905 East Main. It was such a leak that it was coming through the electric panel, which is the main electric panel to the building, 1,200 amp service. It was a serious problem. It had been coming in for some time, obviously, once we got the panel off, and we needed to take corrective action to make sure that the building stays powered and we don't lose any of the equipment within the building. So we were able to put together an emergency project. We replaced the panel itself. We replaced the cabling coming off of the 3 transformers located about 50 feet away from the building. When we dug down, as we were pulling the old cable out, what we found was that there were 5 conduits that were cored into the building to bring the power in originally, and they were cored in about a 6-inch diameter hole, and a 4-inch conduit was placed then inside it, and unfortunately they did not refill or protect in any manner except with dirt. So we had not only water coming in through the basement through the hole, but we also had water coming in from the conduit below the transformers. There was no heads placed on top protect that. So that's all been done. Project's been paid for. It cost a total of $35,056 and a little bit of change. We had to rent a generator as a backup generator to our backup generator because we ran the building for approximately 27 hours, powered it off of our standalone in-place generator there, but just in case we had an issue or problem, that building needed to have power to be able to run the 911 call center. We used fuel. We had Cummings come out and check out our own generator as well as the backup. They did the hookup for us, and then Aladdin Electric provided the services. And they were timely. They got the equipment ordered and here, and were able to do the job, as I said, within 27 hours. So felt very good about the project. It was unfortunate that we needed to do it, but it's a fix that was necessary, and I know MetCat is very appreciative of our efforts. So, any questions? Second emergency, and had a number of them this last month and a half, was at the nursing home. The fire alarm panel, which is an Edwards fire alarm panel, went bad and could not salvage it. So we got a hold of the local vendor for Edwards, which is Thompson Electronics. Thompson was able to come in and install and then reprogram, inspect, and certify the new boards. Was done in about a 4.5, 5-day period of time. Nursing home did have to undertake some special opportunities to have staff go around and perform basically a fire check on an hourly basis and record their findings versus having an alarm panel that functioned for that period of time. But it is up and working, and that cost for that repair or replacement was $15,000 and some change from Thompson Electronics. That is being charged initially to our capital asset fund, but we will in turn, once the bills come in, we haven't paid it yet, we will in turn bill the nursing home for the amount. Which takes us to our next piece. On the next page was an update for you to take a look at. It's the 2017 capital asset dollars and projects, where we're currently at. If you can read the small print, through the first three projects, which are still ongoing. That's the backup electric for the coroner's office, backup generator. It's the rooftop, 2 rooftop units here at Brookins, and then it's replacing a compressor in the chiller over at the nursing home. So of the $655,000 that we had available for capital assets this year, that takes us down to about 238. You subtract out these emergency projects, and we're looking at about $180,000 left for the remainder of the year. What that tells us, looking at the remaining projects, is that we can go ahead and get busy and try and finish these projects up. That's resealing the courthouse parking lot. That's resealing the satellite parking lot. We actually have money in our capital fund that we will combine with some of the ADA funds that we're going through with the project you just approved, so that we make sure that we can take care of that lot in the way it needs. Replacement of a water heater, a large water heater, one of the 2 large water heaters over at the satellite jail. Those projects then leave us with about $85,000. One of the things that we definitely want to do, and we've talked about earlier with this board, is research the purchase of water softener for the nursing home. I'm going to throw out to you today, and I talked to folks earlier, but I think that we need to take a look and hire an engineer for the Elias building, the old nursing home. Need to take a look at the 68,000 roughly that we've basically abandoning, stepping away from. That's 68,000 square feet of space that has the mold issue and problem that are at levels that we don't want people walking through that building. What I'd like to do is I'd like to hire an engineer to come in and evaluate and tell us how we may best close down the building and still provide utility service to the remainder of the building, electric, water, gas, sanitary, et cetera, so that we can close the utilities down in the old building before winter hits. There'll be some savings there for our utility budget, but I'd like to move forward with that. Once the engineers come back with basically a kind of a blueprint of here's what we can do, depending upon what the price estimate is, we may come back to this group and see if we can't yet fund that in this fiscal year under capital asset. So, any questions about where we're at in the updated capital asset? Jim, the 85 is after we've spent all of the, after you've accounted for the expenses of the emergency projects.
Right.
The only reason we're able to even talk about that right now is that our first 3 projects came well in under budget. And with this bid, I'm hoping that we just approved tonight that'll go out tomorrow, hoping that it'll at least come in on budget, if not under. We're not saying we're going to take on another project right now, but we certainly would like to hire an engineer to come in and do a quick program for us. This is not going to cost a lot of money, but this is a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 kind
Okay.
of
I just
look
wondering
and
how
see
close you're gonna,
yeah.
how far are you gonna lower the fund
Yeah.
in case there's another emergency?
Yeah.
That's my point, of course.
Any other questions? Okay, Brookins update on the multi-zone project that's been bid out. All 3 of these projects, actually Pius just signed contracts for on Thursday. They were sent out Friday. We have meetings scheduled with the 3 contractors for between Monday and Tuesday of next week. Basically, the project schedules that I did attach for your information show the projects being done by the 26th of September. I think we'll meet that schedule with both Brookins and our generator, but I think we'll improve that schedule for the compressor for the nursing home. It's not a, as it turns out, it's not a long lead item, and there are a few that are on shelves that basically are the ones that we need to go after. So I've been told 10 to 12 days once they place the order to have it here. So it's possible that we could have that project completed by early August. So we'll have a little better idea after the kickoff meeting next week.
Any questions? Dana, please continue.
The other two are just the chiller project, which I kind of rolled into one, I apologize, and our coroner's office generator project. So for those of you who don't are aware, the generator project is a project that was necessary to provide electric power backup. So there's, I would coin it as it's really, a sound business interruption plan. Coroner's office uses utilities 24/7 and needs to be powered 24/7. And in my time here, short time here, we've had probably one or two significant power outages a year on our campus here on the east side of Urbana. So it's definitely a necessity. It also encompasses the election storage facility as well as the physical plant where our guys, our 10 maintenance guys, start each day and end each day. It's where our tools and electric motors and so forth, stuff that we use every day, is stored, housed. So it will enable us to continue to provide services as well in the event of an outage.
Do you want to move on to G, the Sheriff's Office downtown jail discussions?
We reported at the last, I believe the last meeting, that we were going to meet with a architect engineer here in town, and it's Reef Stack Reed. This group had provided backup information and planning over the last year and a half, 2 years. We took the sheriff, Captain Vogus, and Alan in, and just had about an hour and a half meeting with them, and kind of expressed to them what our thinking was. They kind of picked our brains a little bit. One of the mandates that we were asked to do was also to look into, as we look at it, trying to expand or fix the satellite jail, is to look into temporary housing of some sort that can be used and then taken away at some point in the future. With their help and Alan's, we have found a company here in the state of Illinois, out of Chillicothe, Eagle Container. And they have used these containers for jail purposes as well as a lot of other purposes. So we have a meeting with them on the 10th that Rick will be attending with everyone else to get an idea what this company may be able to provide to us for discussion purposes and some square footage costs, et cetera, as we continue to study what we can do to the satellite jail so that the sheriff could shut down the downtown jail. That's really the...
Yeah, Geraldo, please.
Those containers will have heating and cooling, I suppose.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah,
Running water.
I think we would be mandated to supply all of the amenities.
They have a website you can look. Honestly, they do look a little better than my college dorm room did. So, you know, no situation's ever going to be perfect, but these are certainly not tent cities.
Okay. Well, what is the population of the current downtown jail?
I think the sheriff reported recently we had about 62 people down there. We've had an increase as the season has changed.
So when we're looking at these containers, how many could they house out of those 60? 20, 10, 15 per container?
I don't know what the number is per container, but I think there's a lot of flexibility in terms of capacity. So
Please.
I looked at the website too. My impression is that, first of all, these are newly made containers. They're sort of custom built, and the size can vary. So I can't really say how many people would be in each one.
And then the site for those containers, where would that site be?
At the satellite jail, I think.
Oh, so we're looking at the cost of raising the jail, temporary housing the inmates, and then bringing in some containers to put them on site. Is that what I'm understanding? I mean, I was gone for one meeting, but
Well, we move fast.
I know.
No, I think that we're looking at all options. There's been no obvious decisions. We're trying to pull together information relative to what would the sheriff need to house the number of inmates that they've been housing. Their issues, and the dynamic issue is, you know, that they don't need the large housing areas. They really need to focus more on the, you know, one or two individuals in a cell with the number of demands that are placed on the correction officers. They're needing to separate individuals, whether it's health reasons, whether it's complying with wishes of the correction officers, whatever. But there's a number of individuals that they have to have separated. Rick's right. The downtown jail was hosting, I believe, 60 or 62 last month. Overall number was up a little over 200, which is up, but it's always up during the summer months. Does, you know, flex up and down. Next week's meeting will be interesting. We've only had one meeting with the architect. They will be attending, so we'll pull whatever information we can from Eagle and see what they have to offer and find out other areas where these have been put up. They have been put up primarily, my understanding, in warmer weather locations. But I know that they do have AC, and I know they have heat.
And these containers would have separation cells or areas within each one, or are we going to house mental health and gang-related inmates in separate containers? Or, I mean, are we looking at one or two containers, or are we looking at 4 or 5 containers, because we have to separate the women from the mentally ill to, you know, the folks from the people and the gang-related issues of infighting within a self-contained unit?
Yeah, Mr. Rosales, you're absolutely right on all of those things as things we have to keep in consideration. I think that's why they're going to visit this company, to get the answers to your questions. I would love it if you wrote some of those down for them to ask while they're visiting with them, because believe me, I have the same concerns you do. My goal here, though, is to not actually build something huge and permanent and allow something temporary to get us through to where we either have the finances or even maybe some reform in the state of Illinois that can alleviate some of this problem as well.
So we're talking about exploratory more so than anything
Yes.
else. Okay, thank you.
I understand container is in their name of the company, but if we could find a better name to move forward, I think it's a PR nightmare for all of us to say we're going to be putting inmates in containers. So just something to think about down the road.
Eagle Containers.
It's the name of the company, but yes, I
we
could
could-
not agree with Mr. Rector more. Temporary housing is what it is. And I was born in a trailer, so, we've all had situations, but I think these are certainly better situations than the tent city situation, and they also are probably far better than the downtown jail. And ultimately, our goal being to get that thing closed, to stop having to spend the ADA money, because we are going to have to have an agreement with the federal government by, was it March of next year, on how we're going to deal with this downtown jail and get rid of it. And this would be an overflow option for that, along with, hopefully, in my mind, maybe using some policy changes as well to reduce that population.
Josh, just follow up. So what about the office space for the sheriff? Is that part of the discussion then with the architect also, Dana?
No, currently, we're just talking about how we might be able to expand, based upon what their needs are, what the footprint is. We'll take a look at what Eagle offers in terms of their ability to add to this or
Okay.
take away, and then come back and try and sort it out, and hopefully at a later date, we'll be able to come before this group and have a discussion and have some knowledge to be able to share back and forth, so.
Thank you.
You go first, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, was somebody ahead of me?
No, I thought he raised his hand again, but I
Oh,
want to give first
Sure,
shot first.
All right, I don't know whether Dana or Rick, are we still considering moving the sheriff's offices to the Ilias building, or is that?
Yes, I think that's still an option. That's probably one of the better options that we have to accommodate what our needs are and also minimize the cost to the county.
And Geraldo, please.
My last question, and I promise. That brings to point the question of cost, because I think that there were issues in the past that it was going to be a $40,000 jail expansion that the community did not want, and then it turned out to be 20. And how much is these containment centers going to cost us, and to raise the building and to bring it up to par and to temporarily house those individuals? Are we looking at a range of 10 to 15? And would that money come from?
I think it's so premature to even talk about cost. I think we're still exploring and gathering the information so we can provide you the data you need to make an informed decision at some point. But we're really on step one when we've got several steps to get to.
Yeah, and to lead off of that, I think, in my mind, one of the reasons I really wanted to look at this temporary is because of cost. Is it a way to bridge to where some other things come off of bond issues around here, so we can free up some money if that's what we have to do down the road? But in my mind, the main goal here is to get the downtown jail closed. That's what I'm looking for. I think we could all have some disagreement on to whether maybe we could utilize, home detention more, maybe take away the costs of that to the inmates, things like that, to maybe alleviate some of these numbers. But I don't think there's any way that via that kind of attrition we're going to get to where we can just absolutely close downtown. The sheriff's also put out some numbers on sending folks to other counties, which surrounding counties, many of them don't want the folks we'd send. Those that do are charging to where it could be upwards of $500,000 a year for us to send people out of the county, plus transport costs and things. Now, that can all be debated yet, but, we're starting to get some numbers on what our several different solutions are, and I certainly hope you are the conversation when we come to that point.
The sheriff plans to come to the meeting next month to talk about that particular topic.
Rick, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out, too, something that people may not be aware of. And the sheriff recently reported that in addition to the numbers in downtown, we have exhausted our separation space for the summer. So we're already housing people out of county again because of that lack of facility.
Mr. Rosales.
I keep processing.
Very good debate, though. Keep going.
I keep processing this information, and then I have to go back to my constituents and say, well, we're getting ready to close down the downtown jail, but we want to be able to maintain the nursing home and maintain it open. So it's just a matter, if we're going to spend this money on closing one, could we spend that money on maintaining and leaving one open? So it's a balance, that one for the other, or is it, could we do both at the same time? Or does one suffer on account of us re-channeling or focusing those funds? Since it's facilities committee.
Did you say to keep the nursing home open,
Yes.
but the voters,
I don't think that's what we're currently debating right now. We are debating the jail. So while the two there's one infinite pile of money, there's a limit to what we can do with all of it. Shayna, can you add some clarity, please?
Oh, no. I don't remember what happened to our conversations about leasing space in Urbana for Brookins. Is that, where did that go?
As far as I know, that's been put on a pretty deep back burner right now.
Okay. Well, because I didn't know, has this space been considered for sheriff's office? Or are we still looking at ILEAS? I don't know if the mold issue's changing anything.
Yeah, Dana, please.
Currently, this building is leased. At least 50% of the building is leased, 100%. What do I mean by that? Pods, 100 and 400. 400 is leased to Urbana Park District. It's the gym space. I guess you could pull out the roughly 8,000 square foot for a gym and find a way to build offices and put a second floor in there. Pod 100 is RPC. They've got about 100 employees in there. We've just signed a long-term 5-year lease update with them. And our other two pods, 200 and 300, have ongoing county offices and businesses that take place in here every day. So there's no room to put the sheriff here without removing or leaving somebody out of the current mix. They need about 20,000 square feet, roughly. That's their current footprint at the downtown sheriff's office. This has got 93,000 in it, and about probably 75,000 of it's actually offices and meeting space, et cetera. The rest are hallways. So.
Aaron?
Thank you, Josh. I just have one quick comment that I hope when meeting with this Eagle container that you might also ask about, the possibility of temporary offices for the sheriffs, containers to do that as well. I imagine that would have got brought up, but just want to make a point of it, because if we're looking at it, hey, it might be just as cheap to do that for a while. I mean, and as Josh says, till we can maybe then figure out what we're going to do completely or for long term.
Yeah, as soon as we're all wealthy, right? Any other questions, anybody? I think this is a good debate. We are probably going to touch on it more as we move forward. Oh, one more. Oh, Jim, please.
Well, thank you. Another suggestion, and goes to what Josh talked about with trying to cut the number of people in the jail, is that there's a lot of discussion about the reentry program, the mental health and behavioral health that the social service groups are doing in the jail and currently don't have space there. So when we're talking about some facilities there for them and some sort of expansion, that we address those limitations that are currently not available there for them. Also, money for the jail is available probably from the quarter cent. The nursing home is obviously different funds than quarter cent safety money, so they're not used for one or the other. Thank you.
Anybody else? Make sure I don't miss anybody this time. Okay. Yes, as I said, I'm sure we'll hit this more. That being all the facilities director's report, we'll move on to other business, which I have none. Chair's report, really just our next meeting is August 8th of 2017. A reminder that August is going to be when we start touching on budget, so excitement. That being said, designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda. Everything to approve tonight goes directly out, so we don't need to go to the board. And with that, and no objections, I will declare us adjourned. Thank you, everybody.